Amigos and amigas, this is another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show about to start. Monday Night Football. Let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. My name is Wiso Vazquez. I'm from FutMexNation. It's going to be a great show. All about Liguilla, all about Liga MX. Let's just jump right to it. We have Tom, we have Nayib, we have Cesar to jump on and to talk all about La Liguilla and talk all about Mexican football. Let's start with a crazy question to start us off. Who had the worst Saturday, Chiapas, America, or Julio Cesar Chavez, guys?
I didn't watch the boxing match fight. I don't even know if you call it a match or fight, just because that shows you how much boxing I watch. But I think it's Chiapas, right? It's got to be Chiapas. It's just they still got that win. They went out and threw in goal differential. I don't know. And they had that early goal against Atlas. I think it was clearly. I think it was just Chiapas. That's who I think had the worst Saturday night.
I think Chavez, because he actually felt physical pain. And for the rest of it, it's more like emotional, and they'll get over it. But Chavez actually got battered for like about an hour. And probably Chavez.
No, I think I will go with America. I mean, I think 10. It was 10 consecutive Liguilla appearances. They were shooting for the 11th. They lost the last 3 matches. With 1 point, they could have gone in with a draw. They were so close with it, with Manu Perez scoring amazing goals, out of nowhere. And, at the end with a Oscar Murillo goal. And, of course, the big hero of the weekend, Raul Ruiz over there in Monterrey, scoring that goal in the last second possible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Craziness indeed. I'm actually glad all three of you picked different ones. I mean, we didn't even plan that. So they were always going to say Chiapas. I did see Julio Cesar Chavez posts on OfferUp and Craigslist his never used gloves that he owns. Never wants to use them. It was funny there. Well, welcome to the Mexican Soccer Show. Like I said, an hour-long podcast of Mexican football. Already, if you're not on the chat, jump on. Saying hi to Victor Herrera, Billman, JP Santoyo, Jesus Espinosa. I'm guess all will have chatting about the Mexican football. Ask us your questions. We'll have Amy and Jason, part of the Mexican Soccer Show staff, that are going to be looking at the questions and moderating and making sure everything's nice on the chats, discussion-wise. And also, they'll be helping us with the questions today. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What was a crazy Saturday night for all of you guys that might have just been watching the fight and all the, because let's think about it. That wasn't a great spectacle to begin with, the actual fight, but you missed out on probably one of the craziest Saturdays, ending to a Liguilla that I've remembered. At one point, Chiapas was relegated. Another point, Morelia was relegated. Then Morelia came back. Then Chiapas was relegated. Then Morelia was relegated again. Then Chiapas was relegated again. All craziness on a 2-hour window. To explain this, Tom, what happened? Why was there so many changes? And it just goes to show you the madness of Liga MX.
Yeah, I just think, you couldn't have written the script, really. I mean, it was that one goal. I mean, Ruiz, I don't know. I can't think of a goal off the top of my head that has had so many repercussions. I mean, people score goals and you win a title. You score a goal and you save yourself from relegation. But with that one goal, he kind of saved from relegation. One scoring title, and I'm missing one out now as well. And and La Volpe was fired from America. Well, not fired, let go. Because of that, it ended his America season, and La Volpe left. So it's like that one goal in like the 91st minute just had so many repercussions. I just don't think we've seen the like of it before. It was amazing, and I think that the fact that all the games, or a lot of the games, were played at the same time, I think it's got to happen. It's got to happen more, like, with more regularity. Because I think it brings everything together right at the end of the last day of the regular season. And yeah, I mean, what a weekend! Thought it was.
I feel like I'm still trying to. I feel like I'm still trying to catch up from what happened on Saturday night, just because it all seemed to kind of happen at the same time. At least over here, I was supposed to go to the Tijuana match, and I'm glad I didn't, just because of what happened that Saturday night. And it was just so over here at home, I was watching the match. I was watching the America and Pachuca match, and then over in the lower left-hand corner, they're showing the Monterrey versus Morelia match. So the reason why they're first showing it was because Pavon got the late goal, which should have, and this was, I think, the 86th minute, and that one should have sent Morelia down, and they kept that down there during the last few minutes. And then as soon as they called for full time for America and Pachuca, you saw just in that lower left-hand corner that Rui Diaz scored, and it was just, and it was incredible. It was really incredible to see. And like I said, I feel like I'm still trying to catch up. It was just from all that stuff that happened. Yeah.
It was a confusing 2 hours, I would say, because look, Monterrey is a strong home team. You know, no one was expecting them to lose to Morelia. And also Atlas is a great home team, and no one thought they were going to lose to Chiapas. Yeah. I mean, that came out of the blue. I think, seeing those two teams get wins against Liguilla teams. Atlas and Morelia and Monterrey are in the Liguilla, and these are, relegation teams. But it tells you a little bit about the dangers about playing these teams at the end of the season, because they got a lot of matters. They got economic reasons to get the wins and all that. And at the end, over here in Mexico City, I was over there watching America Pachuca. I think it was an exciting match. Two teams that, in my opinion, should be in the Liguilla, America and Pachuca, because of what they've done in recent years. But none of those are in. So I mean, I think it changes a little bit the panorama of things.
Nobody deserves Liguilla, Nayib. You got to get into it, and as we saw, Tom kind of put it together. I was trying to think of a goal, a more important goal, and I mean, for some reason, I started thinking of that Piojo America versus Cruz Azul. All that happened for America winning that title in that one last-second goal. That got him in, that got Piojo into El Tri, that got Piojo punching Martinoli, that got Piojo back out of it. Like, one little thing, it's like kind of like a 30 for 30 ESPN should do this. This one goal is now going to spawn off so many different types of storylines, and it's so true because La Volpe got fired, just like you said. He gets the bicampeonato, el goleador, the dos torneos. Morelia's in, Chiapas gets relegated. Honestly, it was definitely madness in what happened. But
yeah, it just shows as well. I mean, those clubs are so desperate. It just shows like what were they doing earlier. I mean, Chiapas hadn't won a game since like February.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Chivas in that amazing game, and then didn't. What was it? I think back in February, and then just didn't win since. And Morelia, he could not amazing either. And even Veracruz. I mean, it's just weird how just on the last day they all decided, right, we're going to turn up now. But the flip side is that you got Monterrey and Atlas already in the playoffs, and I don't care what teams say, oh yeah, we're going to give 100%. It's like if you've got a Liguilla game coming up in a few days' time, I think as a player, psychologically you might tell yourself that you're going to give 100%, but I think you're always kind of like. There's a small percent you're just watching out for injuries. You're not going into challenges as you would if it was a life or death game like it was for Chiapas and Morelia. So yeah, I mean I think the other thing as well is like Monterrey lost, Atlas lost, Chivas didn't impress again. Tijuana did squeeze out that victory, but I mean there's not many teams looking into the playoffs now that are going in there, flying. I mean, I was doing a story today, and it's like you look at Tigres and you think that is the form team, and by a long way right now.
Yeah, especially I mean, like, just going off what you just said. I mean, like if you're looking at those top six, the only member of the current top six that got a win was Xolos, and like you said, and I watched the replay later just because I had to write about it. There wasn't really anything exciting from that Tijuana performance. There's nothing. It took a backup player, Luis Chavez, to get the game-winning goal. Late into the match. So yeah, no, it's just it'll be interesting to see him. And I know you said that they need to get some rest and whatnot, but it's also just because I feel like I wrote about this too earlier today that just like sometimes there is no feel like there needs to be a little bit more motivation to get that higher seed. But I don't know. I think once you had the spot in the playoffs guaranteed, and once that you have to rest those players, it wasn't that surprising to see those top teams just kind of sit back and be okay with a draw or even a loss.
Here's a quick question to you guys. Do you think that obviously the Liguilla format and the way that it is right before the teams are announced, I mean, the separation, how many points between the second place and the eighth place? It's obviously anyone could win it. Do you think this is a good thing for Mexican football? I mean, this is what attracts this type. Obviously, the playoffs are for that excitement instead of the whole points that they've done in Europe and other places. But is it good to have this crazy of a Liguilla format coming in 10 minutes into a match that could be changed? The spots, relegation, everything. Is that good for the league?
I mean, I think it's difficult here to judge it. When you look at it from the spectacle sense or the entertainment sense of the word, I mean, I think it's hard to beat it, because this just is unmatchable, and it happens almost every season. However, when you look at long-term planning, having two consistent, for example, Cholos finished already 2 consecutive seasons on top of the table, but there's no price for that. No one's going to remember that if they go on, if Morelia goes on to eliminate them. I think that in the long run sort of hurts Mexican football, because there's no long-term planning. The long-term vision is really rare. And it's because of this, because in 6 months or in 3 weeks, you can all of a sudden become a title contender. Like what Tom was saying about Tigres. Tigres has had a really, really erratic first 6 months of this year. However, the type of squad they have allows them to think that they're the main title contender heading into this Liguilla. I mean, and it's been a really, really slow type of season for Tigres, and they're still, in there in the mix, and they can probably win it all.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think that, I've always said that I like the idea of a longer season. I like the idea of, just having that short little break in the winter and then continue. And like Nayib said, I think it's good for the development of the team. I think it's good for developing a character within the team. I think we'd be more patient with managers. I think we'd give more opportunities to young Mexican players. But then what you would sacrifice is just, what you saw on Saturday night. You'd sacrifice some pretty exciting, thrilling soccer. I think that's the key. There's a lot of pros and cons for each side.
Yeah, I think it's TV ratings is the main pro.
Somebody has to say it.
TV ratings are just,
be honest.
Yeah,
you got 2 championships. Football's obviously the number 1 game in Mexico. You've got the trophies given out twice a year. So if you've got Club America or Chivas near that trophy, your TV ratings are through the roof every time. But yeah, it depends what you like. I just think now in Mexico, this system started in 1970. I think people are so used to it. Obviously, it's near to the States, borders the States. Everybody knows in the US, a playoff culture is what there is. That doesn't exist in Europe, and I think that people would reject that in Europe because of that, because there's no history, there's no, it's not happened before there. So, it is what it is. And I just think, like I said, I prefer what you said, Cesar, like a bit more like MLS, where you have a longer season and then kind of a proper playoff, and it's like absolutely everything is on the line there. But if you take away one of those playoffs from a TV point of view, I think it'd go down, and you get clubs that have got not much to play for later on in the season, and then I think you get some complaints and stuff. But yeah, when you have nights like Saturday night, it's and what we've got coming up. With the Clásico Regio on Wednesday and Saturday, and then the Clásico Tapatio on Thursday and Sunday. These are some of the best atmospheres there are, not just in Mexico, North America, but anywhere in the world, really. Yeah. These are top games.
All right, definitely. Well, let's move on to before we start talking about the Liguilla, let's talk about a little bit of relegation. We touched on it last week. Pretty much everybody said Chiapas was going down, if I remember correctly. But guys, who eulogy for Jaguares? Would anyone care to pay their respects? Go ahead and we'll give a moment of silence for that team. Okay, never got a moment of silence. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you.
No, go ahead. Sorry, because I said moment of silence and usual. So go ahead, Tessa. Go ahead. If you want thoughts on Jaguares.
Chiapas. You had weird jerseys. We had some water breaks. Bunch of players on loan. I'll see you guys later.
No, I think that it was a joke of a team, and it's no surprise to see him down there. He went down on goal difference to Veracruz, and Veracruz and Chiapas, they've got the same common thing. They've seen violence this season in the stadium. They can't control the fans. They've not been able to pay players all the time. They've had scandals off the pitch in terms of government involvement. There's been reports of in both Veracruz and Chiapas. And Chiapas apparently fired a player for absolutely no reason, reportedly, according to the player, although they are denying it. I mean, I think if you don't run a club properly, eventually these are the consequences. So do I feel sorry for this Chiapas institution and ownership? Not one bit. Absolutely not. I think the thing with Chiapas and Tuxtla Gutierrez and the state of Chiapas is that, from a socio-economic point of view, it's always been a little bit behind the rest of Mexico. I think it deserves a first division team. I think it represents the southeastern side of the nation. And I think that it'd be great to have a really, really well-run team in Tuxtla Gutierrez with a really good youth system that kind of brings players in from the local area and gives an opportunity to play potentially first-team football. But I mean, it's just, they were a long, long way from that, my lofty ideal of what Chiapas as a club should look like.
Well, they won't have the problems of paying players.
No. But I think the other thing as well with this relegation is that I think a week before the final there's going to be an owners meeting again, and I spoke to Santos Laguna president Alejandro Iraragorri a few weeks ago now, and he said, I didn't even ask him specifically about it. I asked him, what would you like to change about this league? And he said, you know what, one of the issues is relegation. And he kind of said, at the minute we're in the middle. We don't have a European system where 2-3 teams go down based on points, and we don't have an MLS system where nobody goes down. We kind of in the middle. We're trying to protect our big teams, but nobody understands the system. I mean, points per game system based on the last 3 years or 6 seasons is just it's so complicated. It's a ridiculous system. You might as well say how it is. Yeah. And I think though that also I was speaking to a journalist the other day as well. I think it's going to be on the table. I think relegation and the relegation system is going to be on the table when the owners get together later this month. It wouldn't be completely surprising if they introduce some changes to it.
And then there's going to be a lot of questions also about the multi-ownership, because here is the Chargoy family with Chiapas and also Puebla. Chiapas is now gone. Puebla stays. They're in the Censo MX. It's a different whole team. Lobos WAP is battling against Dorados for who will be promoted. One of those two teams will go up, Dorados or Lobos WAP. So it could be two teams in Puebla. How is that going to change the panorama for the Chargoy family?
No, sorry, don't worry. Yeah, no, you're right. But if Dorados goes up, it's another multi-ownership.
Yeah, because you got the little Xolos connection right there too. So
Morelia stayed up, which is multi-ownership with Atlas. It's everywhere you look.
Yeah, and look, another thing right there with the relegation talk that might happen in the next weeks, Cruz Azul all of a sudden becomes a team that is going to end up be in the mix. And as we know, Cruz Azul is one of the historic clubs in the league. Are they gonna have a say in that? Because if there's no relegation anymore, they're gonna be happy. And how can that influence the decision?
I feel like relegation should be changed. I don't like the idea of there being no relegation. I've always liked the idea that it's a flawed system, that's for sure. And because it has no advantage, actually has a huge disadvantage for any club that comes up from the second division. But completely doing away with no team being promoted or being relegated, I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like it just. We don't have to get into it, but it's just it.
3 in and 3 out. That'd be cool.
Ooh, that seems like a big
season. Every season.
I think that's too much. What if we did something like Germany?
Because if Cruz Azul goes down, they can come back the next. Once you're down, I'm a León fan. As soon as it went down, I was like, we're gonna be there for a long time.
We could do something a little bit more exciting, like the German, the Bundesliga, where we could have one team go down and the second to last place team they take part in a playoff relegation battle with someone from the second division.
Nice. So it's like
I think
it's gonna be undone over one season, if you know what I mean. But I think what Wiso said there, I think whatever you do, whatever system that you come up with, I think what has to be created is that you've got a second division which is strong. Because at the minute, the second division is also it's just not a great league. I mean, clubs are coming and going. They're being created, then they're falling apart. And Chiapas, they're going down to the second division. I don't believe they're going to have a second division club. I don't believe that ownership is going to put money into a second division club now. There's no. I think they just like the influence that having a first division club in that region brought. And now Chiapas has gone down. I'm sure it'll be sold to another franchise. And you look at the size of Mexico and the footballing culture that Mexico has, and you think, you should at least have 2 really strong divisions. And I think that there's plenty of scope to have a fluid relegation system there. I mean, there's so many cities all around the country that could easily house, for me, a first division team. Don't get me wrong; it's not going to be another Club America with 80,000 stadium, or Atlas Chivas with 45, 60,000. I mean, just nice little towns who a bit like Leon. Leon's a really good example of a town that really gets behind its team. It's not the biggest stadium, but there's a lot of cities around Mexico that could do with a team.
Actually, now I have a question for Nayib and Tom, because I'm trying to think of this like side division stuff. no, but just because they're in Mexico, I'm thinking it's just Tom gave an idea, but just like at least over here in the U.S., I never really think about the second division. I'm sure like most like Mexican Americans, we don't really think about that Mexican second division at all. Does anybody in Mexico actually care about the second division?
FutMexNation cares about the second.
I guess.
I mean, you see clubs, for example, that have a nice historic background, like Atlante. That are in Cancun. You see a lot of and they had financial problems this season. I mean, it was pretty evident they had financial problems over there.
Dorados, Juárez.
As I see the second division, it's a hub for young Mexican coaches.
Mm-hmm.
That's the place where they're going to get their first opportunities, and then from there they'll move to first division. But many still stay there in the second division. For example, Joel Tiburon Sanchez has been a coach that already coached in Coras, in Mineros, in all these teams, and he's Leones Negros, still hasn't had an opportunity in first division, so you can just stay around there. But that's how I see it. I mean, I don't know how Tom sees the second.
Rafael Puente Jr. I mean, it's a storyline right there with Lobos WAP.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but is the quality there? You know what I mean?
We have Juárez and Morelia.
No, I mean, down in the second, it's like Rafael Puente Jr. has done really well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's done a bad job, but at the end of the day, how much quality is there in the second division? I mean, I don't know. I just think it could be a lot stronger, and the whole of Mexican football would benefit from that. I mean,
the investment, it has to be heavy. I mean, and for the most part, if there's trouble for investment in first division, imagine in second division.
Yeah, no, but I don't actually agree with when they say, we struggle to get investors to buy these teams. I just think that the problem with the second division and investment is that it's so difficult to get promoted. I.e., you have to win one of the championships. It's not like you have to be the best team. You have to get into the Liguilla, then you have to win the Liguilla, and then you go to a playoff against the champion of the other. It's like there's so many ways you can trip up. Like Leon for so many years, how many finals did Leon get in? Semi-finals, and that's the problem. You can be a really good club, really well run, and still not make it up there. And it's like if you're an investor, that puts you off. You're not going to invest in the second division.
3 in and 3 out solves all the problems.
I'll sign the petition, Wiso.
3 in, 3 out.
Let's just start a second division team, guys.
Change.org. Get that in there. All right, guys.
What's that one with the White House one or something? I could get the White House to tell guys.
Yeah, this is. I think that's it, right? The change.org.
Is that
it? The White House, that's for sure.
For those of you that we keep saying, maybe you do not know, maybe you don't know about the Lobos BWAP. We're not just putting like a sound effect after Lobos, by the way. It's not like Lobos BWAP, right? Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla, just FYI. So just, it's kind of like UNAM in that. But it's somebody had a comment a while back, like, what BWAP? So, and I actually kind of like that, the Lobos, kind of very Game of Thrones-ish, kind of, if we're thrown in there with a flag.
Cuauhtémoc Blanco played there once. Cuauhtémoc Blanco played over there.
All right, guys, let's jump in. The chats, lots of discussion about many different topics that were in there. Joel points out financial problems run rampant in first division. 95% of teams have financial problems. So maybe the other 5%, somebody was talking about this. So Toros Nesa used to be a fun team to watch. So lots of things happening.
But I think that some of at least part of the financial problems in the first division are owners that are kind of seen an opportunity to kind of make their own name in the first division, and knowing that the chances of relegation are minimal, and then it's kind of taking a risk for a few years, and they do become famous. And if you're an owner of a Mexican first division club in Mexico, you're a known person. You know what I mean? And I think if there was a real relegation system where teams went down because they were bad over the course of 9 months, I think they think at least a little bit more about even buying a club, to be honest. Unless you're going to run it properly and invest properly and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit idealistic.
Club de Cuervos, I think. We'll do that. All right, guys. Let's talk about this Liguilla. Let's give it out. Your thoughts on it. Again, it's like a storyline. It's you have your Clásico Tapatío, you have all that. So let's start. Obviously, the format 1 through 8. Xolos Monarcas, Monterrey Tigres, Clásico Regio is going to be amazing. Chivas Atlas, Clásico Tapatío, and Toluca Santos. Right off the bat, when you look at those matchups, what are your thoughts? What are your reactions when all this was going down on Saturday night?
I think, I think the clear answer for some of the favorites here, we obviously look at the 2 Clásicos, but just to do something a little different, I think I'm going to choose that I think for the match the series that I'm most excited for is just Xolos Morelia, and I'm just saying that because the last time no, honestly, I'm being real. I'll be honest. The last time the playoffs were here, and against Wiso, you're probably watching that too. The series against Leon, it was thrilling. It was fantastic. That was by far the most exciting soccer match I've ever been to in my life. So when Xolos were trying to fight back against Leon, I just I'm genuinely excited for Xolos Morelia, and I'm just saying that too because I think that Morelia, I don't even though Xolos are in the number 1 seed and that Morelia is number 8 seed, I don't think you should count out Morelia just yet.
No,
Morelia was one of the 4 teams that were able to beat Xolos this season, so that's something to keep an eye on. But I'm mostly just saying this too because I know we're all going to say one of the other 2 series, one of the Clásico Regio, the Clásico Tapatío. So.
I'm sure Tom's excited.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Clásico Tapatío, I think it's going to be, well, it is what it is. It's amazing. It's a great local derby, and it's difficult to predict which team. I think Chivas just about favourites, but Chivas over the last 5 games in Liga MX game, they've not won. Yeah. They've scored 2 goals, and both those goals have been from set pieces. I think, and at least from a set piece, and then he scored a penalty. So Chivas have gone 450 minutes without scoring a goal from open play, which I don't care about which way you look at it is worrying. That's worrying going into a Liguilla. Rodolfo Pizarro was back in training on Monday. He came back. I don't know what kind of involvement he's going to have against Atlas, but Brizuela's out. You look, Zaldivar, 3 key players going forward for Chivas, and you think that Atlas. You look at this Atlas team, and you think they've got to take advantage here. This is a big chance for Atlas to win against the big city rivals. Atlas, unfortunately, Jose Madueña is out, the right back. He's been a really big figure this season. I think him and Luis Reyes, it's their crossing has created so many chances for Atlas. I think Atlas has scored more headed goals than any other team this season with 8. And I think it's because Reyes and Madueña have been in the crosses to Alustiza and Barragan. But yeah, I think it's going to be a decent game, but it's in a difficult one to predict. But like I said, it's in this playoff right now. Do you think they're not going in form? Like look at the Clásico Regio, look at Monterrey losing to
Morelia and Veracruz.
And then Veracruz before that. Yeah. And it's like, what's going on there? But, I think it's going to be... Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think from the Atlas point of view, if they can play like they played against America in round 16 in the Azteca, they've got a great chance. That, for me, has to be the template of Atlas. No egos, no messing around, absolute work ethic, matching the other team and being dangerous on the counter. And I think that if they can do that, they've got a chance. Otherwise, put Chivas' favourite, even though they haven't been doing well recently.
Yeah, this morning I checked the newspapers today in Mexico, and for Cancha Reforma, they got Guerra Civil Wars. And then you have here with the mask Osvaldo Alanis, and then you got Lustiza, you got Cardona, and you got Gignac. The Clásico Regio, I mean, it steals a lot of attention. They're the 2 richest clubs in Liga MX. It's an organic Clásico, a derby that is so from Monterrey that it's a match that it will develop a lot of interest because in the last 4 Liguillas, Rayados has won. And I think they have that. They feel they're the kings of Monterrey. And right now, Tigres is coming at a better form. I mean, after the Clásico Regio, Tigres lost the Conca Champions, but then they changed the chip after that loss against Pachuca. And they're heading into this one at top speed. So, I mean, the Clásico Regio will be one to keep an eye on.
It's like, obviously looking at it, and Cesar, mentioned Xolos, and I'm looking also at that Atlas Chivas probably be the one that I'm looking forward to, just because the history 2 years ago. If you remember, I think, Tom, we were at that game at the Estadio Jalisco. Craziness had happened. Marco Fabian scores a hat trick, and but even then, I mean, it's the violence that was after that, right? That we were talking about. So I feel that the Clásico Tapatio, because of the history, one of the oldest rivalries there.
Yeah, it's the oldest.
I look at the oldest. That's where my eyes are, and I know that the Regio is probably going to be with the atmosphere there, but Clásico Tapatio for me is definitely what I'm looking at. Not to discredit the Toluca Santos that no one's talked about on that match. Santos coming in with no losses. I mean,
eight game unbeaten streak for Santos. If we were talking about teams that are entering in a good shape, it's Santos, but they have 5 draws and 3 wins. I mean, they're the king of the draw, Santos. The thing that makes this Santos Toluca series interesting is that Santos has never been able to beat Toluca in a Liguilla. They actually lost 2 finals against Toluca already. Chepo de la Torre won 2 titles with Toluca. So I mean, it's a return to a place that has given him a lot of success, and a young side. Santos is one of the youngest sides in Liga MX, as has been the case in the past 3 years. Santos always has one of the youngest squads.
I mean, I think that's the one that's actually kind of the one that's most difficult for me to predict, is what's going to happen between Toluca and Santos. Just because I would usually, not usually, but I think I would give this one to Santos just because of how well they've done defensively, and that they only have 1 loss. But they're going to be, I mean, after that, Toluca, they got 2 reds. Sandoval is not going to be a part of the team. Giannini is not going to be a part of the team. At the same time, too, Toluca, they're going to be without Jesus Mendez, who got a red as well. So it's just I think that's going to be. I mean, it's not the marquee kind of matchup here. Obviously, you have the 2 Clásicos, which would be massive. But I think this is the one where it's just really hard for me to really know who's going to be walking away with a win here.
Let's go a little bit of a question time, guys. Out of these 4 matches, and we'll go through all 3 of you, which one's the hardest to predict?
I think. I mean, you never know, do you? I mean, at this level, you see there's so little difference in points between the teams. But I think Monterrey Tigres is difficult. I mean, like we've said, they're both really strong teams, and I think it's going to be. I don't think they're going to be great games at all, but I think they're going to be tactically absolutely fascinating. I thought when they played back on, was it April 22nd?
Yeah.
Antonio Mohamed played 3 centre backs. I thought he tactically outdid Tuca Ferretti. He restricted Tigres to just 1 shot on goal over the 90 minutes. He got the 1-0 win from Cesar Montes' headed goal. He dropped Edwin Cardona. He dropped Carlos Sanchez to the bench. He even though they were playing at home, Monterrey, Mohamed put out a really defensive unit, 3 centre backs, 2 holding midfielders. And he did the job. It was a masterpiece. It was a tactical masterpiece. And Tigres had absolutely no answer. Now, I think the thing is now, the big question, we know that Tigres are going to have the possession. Can they start creating chances? And this is a different Tigres in that game as well. Guido Pizarro didn't play that game. Yeah. And he's absolutely crucial for Tigres. But also, they've started to bang in goals now. They're confident. They've had a bit of rest after the CONCACAF Champions League final. They've had a couple of consistent days of not playing midweek weekend. So I think I think this is a tougher test for Monterrey than that game on the 22nd of April. And for me, the reason whoever goes through out of these 2 teams is automatically the favourite. Yeah. And I think that's the exciting. But just going back to Chivas Atlas as well, I think one of the main stories of this Liguilla obviously is Chivas. Obviously, the biggest or the second biggest team in Mexico, 10 years now without a title. You feel that if Chivas can get over Atlas as well, then this city is going to go absolutely crazy. I mean, the Chivas mania is going to take hold. And then on the other side, if Atlas go through, then they've not won a title since 1951, so it's going to be the same thing. So it's there's a lot of kind of little stories like that, without doubt.
Definitely not. All right, and with that question, I mean, as far as obviously the hardest matchup to predict, team that you feel most confident will be in the next round. Because I was going to say Tigres, Tom. So
The thing with Tigres is like you said we so many times. I mean, they have Mr. Liguilla, Monsieur Gignac.
get it going, Mr. Liguilla, like Mr. October, Mr. Liguilla.
6 goals in 6 games in the last Liguilla.
But Monterrey is Efrain Juarez.
Dude, they got Cesar Montes. He's like scoring those
True that. And also Gignac in 6 Clásico Regios has only scored once. So of course it gives you a little, like, all these little details. And look, with Chivas Atlas, Almeida hasn't won a Liguilla game with Chivas, eh? I mean, think about that. You know, they played the 2 Clásico Nacionales in the last 2 Liguillas. And also Chivas hasn't scored at Estadio Chivas in Liguilla with Matias Almeida. So, I mean, I think here it gives you a little bit of those details that, you know, we'll see what happens. But Matias Almeida has had success in the Clásico Tapatío. So that's on his side.
But hasn't won a playoff, though.
He hasn't won a playoffs, though. But, you know, it's interesting to see what happens there.
Take the stats out of the game.
I feel pretty confident about Tigres. I know.
That's what I was thinking too. I know. It's like when he said the one that's worth to predict is Tigres, and I'm like, well, I felt like that was the one that you can't predict.
I think you do have to recognize that Mohamed did outsmart Tuca last time, but I think a big problem for Tigres, maybe a little bit into that, you know, Clásico, the previous one they had, was that, like, there's such a wealth of talent within that team that Tuca hasn't really figured out what his best options are. And I think he's recently figured that out. And I think that in recent weeks, too, that they've really started to get that momentum. They've really started to figure out how to really click and how to rack up those goals, too. Like, the crazy amount of goals that they've been getting recently. So, I think it's Tigres. I think really Tigres. I'm very confident saying that they're the ones who are going to get I'm going to say I'm most confident they're going to be making it into the semifinals.
No, yeah, I mean, they're definitely confident. I think that, you know, Eduardo Vargas is injured. I don't think he's going to be available for the whole Liguilla, but Lucas Zelarayan would walk into any other team in this league. Yep. And I think his chemistry with Gignac up front is better than Gignac Vargas, to be honest. I think there's a better balance to the team. But all I'm saying is, Tigres, you look at them flying into this Liguilla, and obviously, for me, the reigning champion, automatic favourites for the title. And they're probably they are favourites against Monterrey. But I think this drawing Monterrey at the quarterfinal stage is the worst draw for Tigres.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no denying that, yeah.
And I think that if there is a team that can stop Tigres, we saw Pachuca do it in the CONCACAF Champions League final, playing a certain style of football. And I think if there's a team that can do that and can maintain that concentration over 180 minutes to stop Tigres, it's Monterrey. And that's what I find fascinating this time, which is going to... Mohamed doesn't care. We saw with Club America. He's not like, I'm at a big club, I'm in a new stadium, I've got to go on the attack. He doesn't care. He'll tell his team to sit back. He's perfectly happy doing that. And that's what he's going to do. And for me, it's going to be fascinating. 180 minutes.
Yeah.
Can Tigres break down Monterrey, then do damage to Tigres on the counter-attack? It's going to be... For me, it's the game of the... You know, I think it's the game of the Liguilla. I mean,
century?
Game of the century. And, you know, maybe the past 3 centuries.
Going back to what Wiso said about confidence.
Stop the show right there.
3 centuries.
It's the greatest game of 3 centuries.
Real quick, I think Xolos will beat Morelia. You know, I think they learned their lesson last season when they got eliminated by León. You know, this is a team that, you know, they can change the chip a little bit. I think Arriola, Joe Corona have understood, you know, their roles in the team, and I think they're going to be helpful there. And Avilés Hurtado, if Avilés Hurtado steps up to the plate and gives the type of performances he gave for the most part of the season, I think Xolos should be able to eliminate Morelia. The thing that's scary about Morelia is that they have nothing to lose. I mean, of course, that whole idea, but I just think that this is a special moment for Piojo, because all eyes are on Piojo right now, because they know that Piojo, starting next season, will return to America. I mean, that's almost assuring. You know, if he's able to come to America as Liga MX champion, again, you know, that would be huge for him. And he knows that this is a moment that all eyes are on him. So I think Xolos will easily qualify against Morelia, and then we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, no, and especially since I think it shows that, I mean, like you were just talking about Avilés right there. I think I think Avila's at his best. There's no defense that can stop him, and especially like a defense like Morelia. I don't think he'll have any trouble against them. The only thing I do worry about Xolos is their own defensive line, and there's a lot of injury problems within that defensive line. You know, Emmanuel Aguilera's not there. Michael Roscoe's not been at his healthiest. You know, obviously we know everything about Yasser. You know, he was a decent backup option for the team, and he's not there anymore. But yeah, that's the only thing that I worry about is because they're putting a lot of weight on two young Mexican defenders back there, and also Lahoud, who I honestly don't think has been that great this season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Just a quick question, I know because you watched them live. Carlos Vargas, a fan of him. I mean, he's only 18 years old.
Yeah,
he's massive going into this Liguilla now. But you think he's got what it takes to if Xolos come up against one of the Monterrey or Tigres? Mm-hmm. Would you be confident? How's he done so far in his career?
No, I think Carlos Vazquez has exceeded expectations back line. I mean, like you just said, he's 18 years old. I think if there was a better, but a better option who's also young, we're looking at right back who's been taking over Michael Roscoe's spot. He's 21 years old. I think he's been excellent going forward with the ball, and I think he's showed a lot of confidence. But Vazquez, I know like I said, it's a lot to do with, and I think it's the same problem that I have with Lahoud sometimes. It's just like they'll have moments of brilliance, but it's just just the confidence is not there. And I think at least with Vazquez that makes a little bit more sense, just because he's been thrown into this role because of the injury problems that Xolos have had in that central defensive position. So I'm moments of brilliance, but I don't know. I'm still not that convinced that against a big team that Vazquez will do that well. I mean,
I'd back Xolos to get past Morelia, but I think from there, if they come up against a big club for that very reason, you look at the defense and you think, yeah. But then again, Morelia, just a quick word about Morelia. I mean, they've got they scraped into the playoff. 2 wins in the last 2 games. But I mean, really, nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. They've achieved all their objectives for the season. I think the players will be confident. They want to express themselves. You know that they've got absolutely nothing to lose, and I think for that reason, it's a bit of a banana skin really for Xolos. This
guys, we have a lot of people in Peru watching Liga MX right now because of Raúl Ruiz. And it's kind of fun to see that on the chat. They were saying, Peruvian friends are watching Liga MX. So this guy who is, like you said, Tommy's got nothing to lose and is doing amazing. I mean, putting the team in where it's at right now. So I think I know you want to say Xolos, but I feel like when you have a team that has nothing to lose and the pressure that Xolos has, and what we had last season, Xolos in the Liguilla, I know they have stuff to prove, but be careful there.
Yeah.
Let's go. We talked to Xolos Monterrey. We talked Monarcas, Monterrey, Tigres. Little keys of victory for both teams. If we have to say what are the keys for Tigres, we talked a little bit about that. But aside from Tuca finding the right thing, anything else that we need to mention for that matchup for the Tigres fans that are watching? What needs to click? Obviously, Gignac scoring as we've been talking about. But anything else?
I mean, I think there's the what's gonna influence, like Tom said earlier. I mean, it's Celarrayan. I think that's he came out. I remember in the Conca Champions, and there was this reliance on Eduardo Vargas, and let's see what happens with him. And nothing happened. He missed the penalty in Estadio Universitario del Volcán, and that was a huge miss. But now with Celarrayan, he came from Argentina, a youngster. He already adapted to the league quite well. He's had great games already, and this is a moment where everything's on him. The spotlight will be on him, and it's time to showcase what he has. He'll have plenty of space to take shots outside the box. He's a great shooter outside the box, and I think he'll have the spaces because a lot of focus will be put on Gignac.
Well, there you go. I think everybody wants that Gignac. It's like to be there. So
I think the other thing with Tigres, we always talk about the attack and how good they are going forward, but let's not forget they only conceded 12 goals this season.
Yeah,
they actually had the best goal difference of any team in the league, even though they only qualified in the last day. So that defense has been absolutely, it's been the best defense, and that's the reason for me why they're in the playoffs. It's not for me, the forward line hasn't clicked. And it's only clicked the last 2 matches when Celarrayan has stepped up in place of Vargas. So So yeah, just Monterrey have to find a way around that, and that's not going to be easy either.
On the chat said everyone's talking about this high excitement scoring here there, but Victor Herrera did say that don't be surprised if it's some dull matches. Regio has been a dull at times. Possession, other low-scoring matches with strong defensive teams, which is our Cesar's favorite. Quote on the match.
It's not my favorite. It's just, like I said, just strong defenses,
Win championships.
There you go.
All right, well, we talked about Almeida seeing which problems, obviously, with it's more like a hospital bed than with all the key signings that they did. Tom, really quick, both there are some key points, especially for Chivas, which I think, like you said, is going through. I know Nayib predicted Atlas, but for both teams, what's needed for the win?
I mean, Chivas have to create, have to score goals. I think Alan Pulido needs to, he needs to lead the attack now. I mean, I don't think he's had a bad season, but this is the time when championships are won, and they've spent a lot of money on him. He's been there now over 6 months. He's returned. He's settled back down to life in Mexico, and especially with the injuries, I think there's a lot of focus on him. It's going to be fascinating to see if Pizarro comes back. I think Chivas has desperately needed him. The last couple of games they've been playing Oberlin Pineda further forward and play kind of adding extra holding midfielder next to Gallito Vazquez. So, yeah, I think for Chivas, you look to Alan Pulido and Carlos Fierro, who's been playing pretty well recently. And then from the Atlas point of view, like I said, just mentally being strong, because we know Atlas previously, especially against. I don't think this is a good draw for Atlas either. I think it's a good draw for Chivas, to be honest, because they're coming down on a slump, and then they get the Clásico, which should boost them. Whereas for Atlas, I think that I don't know. I just think Chivas out of the two are a better team right now. And yeah, I'd back Chivas just about to go through. Atlas, they need to, like I said, work really hard, stifle Chivas, and then they have to create chances. And I worry the fact that Madueña is not going to be playing at right back, because I think he's been really good this season, and they've got a youth team at. You slipped my name. It might be Carlos Gonzalez who's coming in. So, yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty even game, and I think it'll be decided in Estadio Chivas.
Good to hear that. Thank you, Tom, for that. And Toluca Santos Nayib. When we're looking at that matchup, obviously not a lot to be said. Santos is coming in with only losing one match, like we mentioned earlier. But what are the keys to the win for Santos and also for Toluca, who many predicted from the very beginning? I think Cesar, and also I put on there a tweet that Toluca was going to win the championship, which not that it's off, but what needs to be passed? What do they both need to?
I think Toluca is coming off slow. I mean, you saw that game over there yesterday in Torreon, and they had the 2-0 lead. They couldn't protect it against a 10-man Santos. I know they were away, but it just shows you that the lack of speed in the defense is quite evident. They don't have Efrain Velarde. Efrain Velarde left out injured in that match as well. So, I mean, I think the defense is going to be very brittle against Santos, who, I think Furch, Jonathan Rodriguez will be really fundamental there. And Osvaldito Martinez has been great this season. I mean, I think we mentioned it in the last show how important he has been for the team, what he offers in the midfield. He opens up the space a lot for the team overall and simplifies the game for players like Jorge Sanchez and Ulises Rivas, who have been two revelations, I would say, this season for Santos. And with Toluca, I mean, what could spark a little bit momentum in their attack could be the returns of Ruben Sambueza and Enrique Triverio, who have been out suspended, for certain reasons. But, it's more spark up front for them. I think when Ruben Sambueza decides to play football, he's actually pretty good. When he doesn't, when his head goes off to other areas that mess up the discipline issue, he's not good for your team. But you just never know. I mean, Toluca is celebrating their centennial season. They want to go far. And this is, keep in mind, this is an experienced coach, Chepo La Torre, against a rookie. This is Hernan Cristante's first Liguilla. So, I mean, I think that's a huge advantage heading into this one, and it could cost Toluca in that regard. But you just never know. I mean, but that's how I see that series.
All right, guys, let's go into predictions. Right, let's see if we're if we're correct for next week. Hard to predict, obviously, with Liga MX, especially during the Liguilla with these teams. But let's talk. We'll go one by one. Xolos, Monarca. Who do you guys got? Is everyone saying Xolos? No one's going to take Monarca on that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think Morelia could give them trouble, but like we all talked about, I think Piojo has learned his lesson from last season. I think a lot of that Xolos roster has learned their lesson from last season. And I think when you have that attack, which has been, I mean, even after Alche left, even after Dairo Moreno left, the attack has been much better this season. So I think that, yeah, it's just whether it be Aviles, whether it be Paul Arriola, whether it be Ignacio Balcorra, has also been great, or even someone like Milton Caraglio, I think they're going to get this through. And, yeah, I think it's going to be Xolos.
Guido Rodriguez, Cesar. Guido
Rodriguez. Is just, who may or may not be my player this season. So.
All right, so everyone's pretty much got it, huh?
Yeah, Tijuana, my player of the season's Hurtado, Aviles Hurtado. I just think, I think you have to go Xolos. I think it's going to be closer than we think, though. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. Like I said earlier, no pressure. Go in there, get a result at home. Go to Xolos, and there's no reason why they can't pull off an upset. But you have to go with Xolos to finish top of the league. I think they've won the last few matches as well. Why not?
I'm not gonna go Morelia just to go against it. Morelia with Raúl and does it again. Piojo doesn't get the Liguilla, so then America's like, should we take Piojo?
No, they'll take him anyway. He loses both matches 5-0. They take him.
All right, guys. Next, Monterrey, Tigres, Clásico Regio. Anyone taking Monterrey?
No, I'm going Tigres. Again, I just don't think there's going to be much in it, but Tigres are on form. I think they're a better team, just about. I think Monterrey are probably the second best in the league, player for player. But you have to go Tigres now because they're bang on form, and Monterrey, they aren't right now.
Yeah, like Tom said, they're just starting to find their momentum, and of course, it's huge going into the playoffs. They're starting to click, and it's just when Gignac is on form, you just can't. You can't really bet against him, can you?
That emotional stability in Rayados has been confusing in the last 3 weeks, because there's, the disciplinary issues between, Cardona, Sanchez not starting in the Clásico Regio. After the match against Morelia, Mohamed said something along the lines that, if you're in the starting 11, you got to run all the time. If you're not running, then you're not part of the 11. All that confrontation inside the team might affect Rayados. But this is a team that is has a lot of stars. It's Carlos Sanchez, it's Funes Mori, it's Cardona, it's Orlan Pavón. It's a stacked team. And Ivan Piris has been also great. But I think that's what hurts Rayados. It's the total opposite with Tigres. Everyone loves Tuca and that team by the looks of it. So that could play in its favor.
All right, well, we'll see. Nobody taking Monterrey. It's easy. Xolos. Actually, I'm not going to go with Monterrey. I'm going to go with Tigres, too. Hashtag Mr. Liguilla. Let's keep using it. All right, Clásico Tapatío. I feel there might be here's where we could split off. I'm going Chivas. I'm sure Tom is going. Tom's already said Chivas. Nayib?
Yeah.
Nayib's changing it, isn't he?
Yeah, I got Atlas, and I think it's the curse of the Clásicos for Matias Almeida, in the Liguillas by the looks of it. And the reason I pick Atlas is because I think Profe Cruz has done well with the team. Clifford Abuagi is scheduled to pay back in 11 this week, and I think that will be a great return for the team. Fideo Alvarez, Tom was saying a lot about the right flank and not having Madueña, but I think Fideo Alvarez will be key there. Alvarez, great passer as well, great cross, great free kick, I think. And Chavito Alustiza is playing well. I mean, I think Alustiza, for what he was brought to the team, he was brought to the team to make goals and to be the goal scorer of the team. And I think he's had a great season in that regard. I think the key game will be the one in Jalisco. If Atlas is able to go with an advantage into Estadio Chivas, I think they'll take this one.
No, I think like what Nayib said, I think that game will be crucial. I'm still going to go with Chivas here. And I think it feels like if there's a season for them to pull it off, it seems like now's the time. Tom talked about the whole 10 years thing. And I know that there's some injury concerns, but no, I think that obviously that first leg is going to be crucial. But yeah, like I said, if there's a season for them to do it, it feels like now's the time.
All right. Then last but not least, Toluca Santos, Chepo de la Torre getting another team deep into Liguilla. Anybody?
I'm going Santos.
Yeah.
I think they played. I think they're a good team. I think they're a really well balanced team. I like the young players. I think like Cesar was saying about Giannini. I think Giannini is going to be quite a big miss in the first leg, but I think Toluca has struggled in recent weeks, and I think that Santos they don't lose games. They lost one out of 17. I think they can move up. I think if Julio Fudge can find some form, then there's no reason why they can't make a final at Santos right now. Honestly, if you don't lose games, then you've got a very good chance of going through.
Yeah, a wise man once can carry you quite far in the playoffs. So this is a team that that only has, like Tom said, it only has a one loss. I think that
you got to win these games. There's a lot of ties in there, though. How many of those were wins?
5.
I think they had 5 wins.
How many of those were ties?
11.
I think 10.
Exactly.
Or is it
you
10?
gotta win games in Liguilla. I mean, this is it. So I'm going to
unless if you sneak by with 2 draws and with an away goal.
Yeah, and in the home record for Santos is what keeps it also as a strong side. Santos and Pachuca were the only teams that didn't lose at home this season, and I think that's a good advantage to have with Chepo de la Torre and Santos. I mean, I have Santos going through. I'm interested to see what substitutions he does. For the absences of Giannini and Sandoval. I think that Buen might start. Cuero, a Colombian forward/midfielder, might get the start. Cuero hasn't had that many minutes, but last season he actually had a lot of playing time. So that's what we have to see. But the thing about Toluca is the Centennial season. So I mean, it's a team that is really going to be pushing hard those 180 minutes.
I'm just not going to go for a team that has the same wins as Chiapas in the tournament. Okay, he has the same wins as Cruz Azul in the tournament. And I should just mention Leon.
But that's
also 5 wins.
I think that is the toughest one, though. I think that's the toughest one for me to predict. I could easily go either way. I know we could say that about the other matches, but for the playoff quarterfinal series, I think this is the one that I really don't know which one's going to go through. I'm going to say it's going to be Santos, but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
All right, I'm going to look. All right, okay, guys. Liga MX, obviously, this weekend. It all starts. When's the first game? Already on Wednesday, right? Wednesday, Thursday. So starting Wednesday, guys, get ready because the craziness is about to start in Liga MX, inviting everybody to come. Obviously, chat, ask us your question, the Mexican Soccer Show, what's going on, and we'll try to answer it while we're there. It should be a lot of fun. Really quick before we end the show, I know we have some time. I know on the chat and throughout, we're all talking about Liga MX Feminil, right? The Women's League, when in 2016, it was announced in December that there will be a league this year. And I know we obviously support it 100%, especially what's happening. It was in, I think last year, 2 years ago, we were talking about how Mexico does not have a women's league, and great to see the talent that's there. And we're going to see these chicas play is just amazing, especially since we haven't had that there in Mexico. Tom, can you give us a little bit about obviously what's happening this season? Update us on Liga MX Femenil and where it goes from here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pachuca won the final 9-1 against Cholos. Which 9-1. They absolutely, they battered them. I mean, it was, completely one-sided. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a big step. I think it was a historic tournament, the cup tournament, the first time. Not that there's been a league in Mexico or a women's cup competition, because they do exist. But it's the first time that Liga MX teams have stepped up, and we've seen a women's team go out there and play and show it can be done, to prove they've done some work behind the scenes. So yeah, I thought it was a majorly positive step. I think it should be coming September. the league should get underway properly, and obviously, hopefully they get it together, they organise it properly. A little bit disappointed, honestly, to see only 12 of the 18 teams put teams together. I thought that, they had plenty of time from December to May, and it's like, I just feel like the other teams didn't put in the necessary effort and money to something that they should be doing. I feel like not just the Liga MX, but every league in the world, there's at least a league that generates enough money. It should be a moral obligation to also have a women's league. I mean, you've got youth systems, you have to have a youth system. I think also you should have a women's team as well. But I mean, even the Premier League, you don't have it. So I think you've got to praise the Liga MX. It's a big step. Hopefully in September, the quality steps up. Hopefully there's more teams involved. And yeah, I think historic last week. And I think that girls around Mexico will see that. They'll see that, the Liga MX teams have got giving opportunities to young girls. Remember, it's mainly a U23 competition. This, so yeah, I think it's a major positive, a big PR for the PR point of view as well. It's good for the league to do something which is really positive.
Yeah, it's a massive step in the right direction, especially when you see that, you think the women's national team, it hasn't been able to be obviously at the same level the men's national team for many, many reasons. But I think this should hopefully down the line be able to make the women's team more competitive, and you really see them be like I said, playing at the same level the men's national, maybe getting the same, at least in my mind, at least for the I'm excited for, just to see more of a production from that talent that could support the women's L3.
Yeah.
There was a real quick thought I have. I mean, you did see some differences there with Cholos, Pachuca, and America. I think those are the teams that are really kind of advanced. Of course, Pachuca with the squad that they had. Well, Pachuca had a lot of national teamers actually in the team. One of them, Monica Ocampo, was just bossing on the pitch at one point. You could just see in the game. But, I think that's something that is going to improve with time, no?
Yeah. And it's something that here in the United States, when you talk about the women's, team, I think there's a lot of fear that it's not, people are going to get behind it. They're going to be boring matches. And mostly I think that's coming from guys. But knowing and talking to women that are watching this, they're excited. And just like when you're talking about the women's national team in the United States, who, hey, people go crazy for them. Little girls go crazy for them, seeing them. And I think that's what I like. I like the fact that young girls in Mexico or in the United States are looking at that and they're seeing, hey, this is an avenue. And I think hopefully can catch on and really be behind it too. So that's cool.
I think the potential's massive.
Mm-hmm.
If they really do get it together, can you imagine a Clásico Regio, Monterrey Tigres? I guarantee you fans of both those teams will show up and fill stadiums.
Totally.
And imagine the impact the knock-on effect that will have on the women's side of the game. Mexico could be a real world power in the women's game. I've got absolutely no doubts about that. But you have to put the infrastructure in place, and this is a first step. This is an important step.
And you kind of saw that with the Americanistas on the first goal that was scored. I mean, I saw my news feed like, oh, check it out, America, the first goal in Liga MX Feminil. And people were proud of it. So just to make up, if it was Chivas, if it was like a larger team that had, a much larger fan base, you would totally see that kind of, look what we're doing. So good luck. I think it's going to be great, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Cool. All right, guys. I know we're going over time. I want to thank everyone on the show. Tom in Guadalajara, ESPN FC, obviously writes a ton. So you can definitely follow him on Twitter. Nayib in La Ciudad de Mexico, who doesn't get a Liguilla this year. Sorry about it. Nayib, 30 minutes one direction or the other direction, you're gonna have your football everywhere. So you have the national team in about 3 weeks, 2 games. So I'm not sad.
There's clásicos and liguillas, and I think that's special. I mean, I think since I got into Mexico, there's been at least a one liguilla in each liguilla. One clásico in each liguilla. So I mean, it's a huge blow for Mexico City. I mean, not having. But I've talked a lot to capitalinos, and most of them are saying, it's fun to be a neutral spectator. I'm gonna enjoy this. There's not gonna be no pressure.
Is that how they're justifying it?
Yeah, that's how they're justifying it. And that's cool. I mean, that's cool.
That's like that's like Cruz Azul all the time. They're just neutral. They never have anything important. Cesar in San Diego. Obviously, you heard him talk about Xolos. Definitely follow Cesar. Writes for like 9 different publications. Cesar,
I'm actually
442, FutMexNation.
Publications now. You know, I have to pay for the craft beer and tacos somehow. So.
Nice, guys. And also the Mexican Soccer Show here with FutMexNation. Follow us for all of the news, the talk, the gossip, the chisme, todo lo que está pasando in Mexican football and what we're having here. And follow me at Wiso Vazquez. Thank you so much. It's been the Mexican Soccer Show. Follow us. Obviously, if you're on YouTube right now, subscribe to our channel. Put in the notes any questions that you have on this, and also share it. Definitely trying to grow. Let us know obviously on the chat how you like the show, what you did and what you did, and we'll try our best to answer. Keep it here every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern on the Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta la próxima, amigos.